Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Osiris. Hoodies on. It's late night talks. Today we're talking about depression. Living with depression. I think I'm gonna title the video "Depression and Isolation." Now, look, when I make these types of videos, I don't really look for sympathy. I'm not looking for a boo-hoo. I'm not looking for. This is merely like a video diary, talking about my experiences, how I overcome my depression, how I get over these hurdles, these mental hurdles, how I coped with these feelings during isolation, right? Especially me being at home for 4 years. It was tough. It was tough. Like I said, whenever I have this hoodie on, I want to try to be as transparent as possible. You know, I want to be more open. I know a lot of us, especially most of us, we all suffer with some form of mental health. And the truth is, we can't change the past, no matter how much we try. Some say anxiety comes from the fear of the future. We're too worried about the next move. And depression might stem from what happened in the past, most of the time. Old habits, past traumas. And at the end of the day, there's nothing to do but to forgive ourselves, to grow from that and evolve and get better. Right? Obviously, my depression started in my younger years. Obviously, it's not really a point of concern, but it definitely stemmed off from that. And like, even with regards to the other video I posted the other day, and I spoke about moving out, right? I see there's a lot of backlash and a lot of, not backlash, but there's more like people are not understanding my situation. Whenever I say move out of your parents' house, I'm not saying that you disregard them or you have to ditch them, right? At the end of the day, your family is your family. You can't pick your family, it's who they are. But what if in some instances they caused your depression? What do you do then, right? Not everybody comes from a perfect home, right? And I guess this is where my story starts. Growing up, seeing my parents fight, abuse, and it's obviously I can't get into the finer details. I think that's for future video, but some things I have to keep private. But I'm just saying that seeing those things unfold and seeing like all kinds of abuse, you get to see life in a different light. That life's not always that peachy. And look, people might chalk it up to, oh, everybody has problems, family have problems, but what happens if your family problems are so escalated that every time there's a good day, you have this instinctual feeling like this is not going to last forever. In a few minutes, something's going to go wrong. In a few minutes, there's going to be a fight that breaks out or some shit. I love my family to death. I do. And one thing I guess I'm trying to make you guys understand that, like, not everybody comes from a perfect family. Some people come from abusive homes. Shit, I know there's people out there that probably have a worse situation out there, but they might not be brave enough to even speak about it, to grow from it. They feel like they're just stuck in it, to have no way out. Right? So I think that was the first phase, right? And obviously along the way in life, my depression obviously came from friends, or being a loner, my social anxiety, being bullied at school sometimes, and just being ridiculed, being the third wheel in my friend group, not really being ignored, you know. And obviously, with all the family problems that happened, obviously there were points in my life where I was abandoned, and then obviously when my family problems escalated, um, there were times where I was the emotional tampon. So I heard all of the problems and adult shit at a young age. So you can imagine how that fucked up my mind at a young age. Right? Yes, maybe we can also say the moment I was red pilled, and my very first girlfriend that I loved dearly left me, obviously. And I remember I became a monster from there. And I was like, you know what? Fuck women. I became an incel. But I never said fuck women to get back at them like some, you know, psychopath. I was just like, okay, if that person broke my heart, I have to go around and break other people's hearts. And that's when I became a cheater. That's when I started indulging in bad behaviors. And then obviously the porn was mixed in with that. And, I was more into breaking relationships. I had a fetish for breaking people's relationships. You know, cucking niggas, if that makes sense. And then 2020 came. And that's where this whole story basically starts. This is where we're in isolation now. And I realized that I'm not those people, you know. I have these traumas that follow me around, but I don't identify myself by that, right? These were just coping mechanisms, if I can say, right? The family one obviously is a bit deeper, and I know that people who do go through this, it's something that it takes time to grow from it, because these little family situations and being trapped by your family and, oh, don't go out, don't mingle with these types of people, being forced, being controlled. It's something that takes time, I'm not going to say that I was happy being isolated, but I learned a lot, I read a lot of books, or listened to a lot of books. I listened to Think and Grow Rich, Marcus Aurelius's meditations. I'm currently reading the Neville Goddard books right now, and I'm learning the Law of Assumption. But I'm talking about early 2020. I read a lot of books, and to an extent, I learned to get over that hump of depression. The voices still haunt me. The voices of, I'll never make it in life. You're not the best. You'll never amount to anything. Those things obviously came from family members. Oh, you're not black enough, You twang your voice, you don't speak, with an accent or with vernac. If you speak the South African native languages, you think you're better than us. These voices do haunt me still, but the thing is that people will try to bring you down. And by them trying to bring you down, they don't know that for some people it adds to our depression. Because now we're getting to that point where you try to fix or make everybody happy, but in turn you don't make yourself happy. It's depressing. It's depressing when you lose somebody, especially like a specific partner, your girlfriend, right? And you use them mistakenly, as an emotional tampon, and you are ruining them in the process instead of having a relationship, not a therapy session. Go seek therapy. breaking people's beautiful relationships just for some pleasure of getting back at someone years ago who doesn't even care. Most of my exes are moms now. I'm sure they don't even think about me like that, but being in this isolation, I've thought a lot. I'm unlearning a lot of the old programming, if I can say. The family problems, obviously, I can't let go of that at the moment because I'm still in this environment. But for someone maybe that might be in a similar situation, first of all, an actionable step: be happy. Be happy that it happened, you know. Because if it didn't, you wouldn't be aware. If it didn't happen, you wouldn't be eager to get rid of it. If you have that, you know, drive to let it go, if it hasn't consumed you, right? So an actionable step would be to get out, get a new environment. But you have to forgive yourself for blaming yourself that you try to make everybody happy, that you've lost yourself in the process to keep the peace. It wasn't your responsibility, because that's what I tried to do always. Try to keep the balance, and in the process I lost myself in the process. And this shit kept going on until last year. Obviously now there's still family problems, obviously, but it's not an immediate thing. We fighting with another family. It's insane. Self-image issues also played a part. Felt like I wasn't enough. I said that in my other video of I hate myself and whatnot, but being in isolation, I learned that I am enough. I mean, there's people who have it worse than I do. Why am I complaining about certain things about my looks? You know, I should be grateful for what I have. You know, even now, someone might say it's counterintuitive to be grateful for your family problems. What do you mean by that? It's taught you a lot. You know, it's taught you how to be vigilant. It's taught you how to get on your feet, you know, to become independent. Right? Isolation, obviously, by someone else's rule is not a good thing, but I guess if you look at the bigger picture, if you had to zoom out and see the grand scheme of everything, you've saved a lot of money. You could have been in like situations that you wish you could have gotten out of by being reckless in the streets, you know. If I had a car, I could have saved a lot of fuel. I'm not saying that being in isolation is a bad thing, but I'm also not saying it's a good thing. It's really based on your perspective of things. I also feel like being in isolation, I always try to find the good in things. I always try to look for the good in things. I never always see like, oh, I was stuck at home for 4 years. My life sucked. I learned a lot in these 4 years. I learned how to be okay with being alone. As you can see in the beginning of the story, I used lust or women or friends or just anything else to just numb the pain that I felt throughout my life instead of dealing with it. And I journaled. I meditated. I know those are the corny stuff, but they play a part. You don't get too consumed by your emotions. I almost tried to beat up my family at some point. There was 3 times, right? I'm coming out of the video about that. There were 3 times where I tried to beat my family up. I'm not proud of that. I almost went to jail last year. I don't know if I still have the scar, but I broke a door, you know, on my hand here. I'll post a picture as the thumbnail for the next video, but um, it's a shame. You don't get a lot of people that say, oh, dude, I almost beat up my mom or my dad or my sister. What kind of psychopathic behavior is that? But I was consumed, I was possessed of my anger. And I had some growing to do. Not every situation needs a fucking reaction. Some things just need for you to listen. And in some instances, you just need to listen. Some things don't need a reaction. Some things just need for you to just listen. Hear the other person out. Living with depression is not the best thing to do, but you learn a lot about yourself in the process, I'm not gonna lie. But I think I wanna make a part 2. This is more like a story time, right? I guess if there was an actionable step, because depression is something, it's obviously a mindset thing. You shift your mindset, but long story short, how I dealt with my depression during this isolation is I shifted my mindset. I took time to embrace being alone. I wrote down my thoughts. I dealt with my shadow self, doing shadow work. I'm currently doing it to this day. These things that I find out about myself as I go along. Am I still affected by those things that happened back in 2004? Seeing my mom get beat up, right? Almost beating up my parents. Do I still get affected by certain things? That's the start. You start there. Right? You embrace the dark side of yourself. Meditate. If you're religious, you pray. Right? There's a lot to it, but that's my actionable steps. And how do I feel? It's a long process, right? Go to therapy if you have the resources to go to. But if you're in isolation like I am, those are the actionable steps I would take. And that's pretty much it. Now, like I said, I'm not looking for sympathy. I feel like somebody would need a video like this to relate to. Obviously, your situation might not be family related. It might be like a self-image issue, but the same thing. Use the same steps. Deal with your shadow self. Change your mindset. Right? I know these words keep getting repeated, but I feel like we're in the era of life where we need to stop doing 5 actionable steps on how to cure your depression. Take ashwagandha so you stop feeling emotions. Deal with them. Stop running away from them. I did that. So, deal with them. You don't want to end up like me and ruin relationships because you're using other people as a fucking emotional tampon. Don't do that. Don't do that. I feel good now. But I hope this can help somebody out there. Go to therapy, heal yourself, right? But if you don't have those resources, shadow work, meditate, pray if you're religious, journal, right? Write down your thoughts, right? Find times to just be bored and be alone and think about these things and let them go, right? I wouldn't say be grateful that it happened, but be grateful that you learned from that. You gained experience. Now you can be able to teach somebody one day. People go through a lot of shit out there. Some people are brave enough to talk about it. Some people let it consume them for the rest of their lives. And they wish they had a time where they can just deal with it. But the moral of the story is, it happened in the past. And there has to come a time in life where you have to make peace with the past and be like, I don't identify myself with that story anymore. That's not my story anymore. I'm writing my own story. I'm gonna be better. So the choice is yours. I did my work. It's up to you now. Alright? Just remember I love you. And take care of yourself. Alright? If you relate, comment down below. Alright? Take care of yourself. And if you need somebody to talk to, hit me up on Instagram. Email me. But just know that we love you out here. And it's not the end of the world. Your story is yet to be written. You just have to choose whether you want to let that old baggage go and keep moving forward, be in the present, or if you want to stay in the past and let that shit consume you. But there's no beauty in that. There's no beauty in that. So that's about it. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.